Hey friend, it's me Vasco with a quick announcement. We at the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast are organizing this year's Scrum Master Summit. For tickets and details on the summit, check out the URL bit.ly/SM Summit 22. All one word, SMSUMMIT 22. And now, on to the show. Hello, welcome to our Wednesday Leading Change episode this week with Nick Nielsen. Hi, Nick. Welcome back.
Thank you, Vasco.
So in prep, I was sharing how excited I am to get to this episode because you have first-hand experience of massive change in the organization that you're at. So I don't know if that's the story you're bringing, but we do want to talk about change, how things change in organizations and how we are part of it as Scrum Masters and, of course, also stakeholders in that change, but most importantly, as leaders in that change. So, Nick, share that story with us.
I will try to make a really long 3.5 year journey. I'll try to condense it down. I started in Grundfos at what was called the Digital Transformation Office. So the name of the office says everything, right? When I was hired before the summer holiday, I was told by my then coming manager that they were running Scrum. And then when I started after the summer holiday, I actually started on the job. I was told that now they were adopting SAFe, and I had no clue what that meant. But I think 2 weeks after I started, I became a certified Agilist through a SAFe course, and then everything was good, and we were ready to go. And we had this consultancy firm in. I'll not name them, but they're really classic management consultants. Everyone in suits, really good at talking with managers, not super good at talking with the teams and especially developers. So it was really a top-down implementation. In retrospect, I think that was actually super healthy because in a political organization, the biggest resistance to change, I think, can often be in the management layers. So I think in that way, SAFe acts really well if you manage to tailor or move away from the framework. I see frameworks as training wheels. So they're really good in the beginning, and then at some point you need to let go of them to actually gain the full benefits of being agile. So I've had multiple roles in this transformation, and I think the biggest change and the one I'll share now is actually going away from SAFe.
So how does this get started? So you're 3.5 years into this, and at some point, SAFe becomes kind of the thing, right? Like everybody's trained, and there's people from the outside and the inside helping the teams to understand what SAFe is and why it's good and why they should adopt it. And then the whole thing moves on from there. How did it start moving on?
So I became a release train engineer 2 years ago, and already at that point I had this gut feeling, we need to do something, and I'd actually talked with my manager about, just stop calling it SAFe, calling it a Grundfos agile working model or something like that, because SAFe gave us some good stuff, but SAFe also is safe. It's a thing that everyone loves to hate. So it really became a discussion point or like a place of being fanatic, saying, we shouldn't do PI plannings, blah, blah, blah. But do we still have teams that are dependent on each other that need to synchronize once in a while? Yes, we do. Okay, so maybe the ceremony in itself is not bad. It's about shifting, the conversation to the right topic, and discussing whether we should run SAFe or not is not the right topic. So we went into this co-development in the ending of last year. We gathered all Scrum Masters and product owners, and I sort of said maybe we should not run PR planning, and maybe we should not do demo in the classic format that we've done before, and basically got some input to that. Then we decided to create a working group that would come with a proposal on what we could then do, and share that proposal in a following meeting with everyone. And then we collected input to this new format using the 1, 2, 4 many format from Liberating Structures, and basically said, we will, in part of the input is of course adjusting this new format, but it's also about talking about, should we reject the new format or should we try the new format? And if we reject it, then we don't have time to go into workshop mode now. Then it will go back to the working group that will make a new proposal. And I think that way of framing it, it's a yes or a no to trying it, work really well. And we decided to try it, and now we still have a quarterly ceremony called the Heartbeat, where we meet and we get input to the technical direction of our organization, not so much on the business level, more on the technical level. So from a security standpoint, is there anything that all teams should address in the coming quarter, and so on. We've had the first one, and based on the measurements that we've done, it seems to have been a really successful change.
There's a couple of aspects here that maybe would be good to go more into the details. So the first is the recognition that something needs to change, right? I'm guessing you guys had a lot of conversations. Of course, there were the corridor conversations, as you call them, the almost religious arguments about whether safe is good or bad, which are not really the right topic, right? Because what we want is to be a good organization, not to be a good safe organization, obviously. So that conversation was going on. So that's the first tip. Check what conversations are going on in your organization. But then you said you gathered the Scrum Masters and product owners. Why did you choose specifically Scrum Masters and product owners?
It's a really good question. We also had one manager in the meeting, the manager for the Scrum Masters and product owners. But I chose that set of people because they are the informal leaders in my organization, and they are my main stakeholders. And if this change is to be successful, I need them to be on board. I don't believe that if I got the management team on board, that would change anything.
Absolutely. And then the next step, of course, is to make a proposal. Hey, maybe this is not such a good idea. How about this other thing, right? Like make a proposal, kind of kickstart the conversation about what's next. And I really like that approach because it does, as you said, shift the conversation towards what we want rather than what we don't want. Obviously, what we want together is a much more productive conversation because it leads on to the next steps. There's an action that comes from there, right?
Yeah. And also what went into the proposal. So since I started as an RTE, I started or collecting feedback after each a big ceremony. So after PI planning, after demo, and so on, and basically getting input to each subset. So for example, we would always end the PI planning with all of the product owners presenting their plans for the coming quarter, and based on the feedback, nobody cared because our teams, they are very different and they are not necessarily working on the same product. Basically, it would be like you telling me what you're doing for the coming quarter. The first time it might be interesting, but if we have to meet for every quarter and you have to tell me, both of us will start to think it's not so interesting. Based on the measurements and that feedback, that is one of the things we've taken out of the Heartbeat.
Absolutely. And also what I liked is that the next step was that the people involved in the change were the ones deciding what they would do next, right? Like you talked about the working group. And I think that's a very important aspect. One of the key things that you get almost for free by doing that is that whatever comes from that group, the people in the group are committed to.
Yeah. But where you have to be really careful is how you, especially the last part, right? How do you get consensus from a large group? I think in this meeting there were 30 people. So how do you get consensus from that large group? And I think what helped in this change was framing it as a yes/no, not a discussion. You can give constructive input, but we are not opening up the entire concept. Then you reject it, and it goes back to the working group with your feedback, of course, or you accept it. And then using the liberating structure, to sort of get people a little bit on the same track before sharing the input. And then as a group of maybe 8 or 10, you would need to accept or reject. I think that really helped.
Absolutely. That's I would say a great how-to with even steps on how to, in this case, kickstart a major change away from an old framework and into something that the teams themselves, the people in the organization themselves are taking ownership of, which is really important when it comes to change. So,
of course, there's the last step that you might need to include: measure the change. So did it have the impact you wanted?
Absolutely. And I'm guessing that in the measure the change aspect, you have had that conversation about what are the metrics we care about, right? Like, so we're not just measuring, we're measuring things we want as an organization to improve.
Yeah, we want for us, right? For example, we want the different parts of the ceremonies where we want everyone to get together. We want it to add value to the teams. So once they leave the ceremony, they should feel that they've gained something from it.
Great point. Thank you for sharing that story with us, Nick.
Awesome.
Hey friends, it's Vasco again, now with a bit longer announcement. I'm part of the team that is behind the Global Scrum Master Summit, the conference dedicated to the Scrum Master role. If you're a Scrum Master, the Scrum Master Summit is the place to learn, to share, and of course to meet new friends. We will have lots of live sessions where you can meet and network with other Scrum Masters from the whole globe. So make sure you check it at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. We have several amazing keynotes and 7 tracks that feature people like you and of course thought leaders sharing their insights, their knowledge, and helping you become an awesome Scrum Master. You can check out all of the details of the summit, including the keynotes announced, the track chairs, and much more at bit.ly/SM Summit 22. That's all one word. That's bit.ly/SM SUMMIT and the numeral 22. I'll see you on the conference floor.